Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Green Bay Packers all-time leader in rushing, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Tim in Green Bay. We got Jacob in Wisconsin here to talk Green Bay Packers, more specifically Packers Steelers. We got an awesome show for you guys and gals tonight. I'm sure you've heard the big news with Christian Watson. We'll dive into that right off the bat. And then we're going to dive into the game plan. If you guys are a member of our Patreon group, you've already read this. We put together a detailed game plan on how the Packers should attack the Pittsburgh Steelers tomorrow night on Sunday Night Football. Before we get into all that, if you guys and gals would, let's do that YouTube stuff. Hit like, hit subscribe. If this is your first time tuning into PTA, welcome. Thank you for making us a part of your evening. We're not experts. We're not insiders. We're not media members. We're fans just like you talking Packers on the daily. So tonight you're getting the game plan episode where we talk in detail on how the Packers should approach this Steelers game. Tomorrow you'll get a pregame show about an hour and a half before the show or before the game kicks off. And immediately following the game, you'll get the postgame show. So we got daily content all the time here on PTA. So if that's the type of content you're looking for, make sure you hit subscribe and click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. Boys, how are we doing, man? We got some good news today. I'm excited about diving into it.
Scoot's back. Let's go.
All right.
You look so happy. I saw the photos from the team getting off the plane. You know, it's one thing to make the trip and be on the sideline and be a supportive teammate for your fellow warriors out there. But it's another thing to know that you're flying out and there's some cleats and some pads and a helmet waiting for you, and you're going to be suited up with your boys for the first time in nearly a year. So really excited that Scoot's back in the fold, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, let's just jump into it, Jacob. You want to, man? Have you heard the news yet, sir? Have you heard the good news?
I have heard the news. I have.
All right. Here we go. Tom Silverstein put a tweet out. The Packers have activated wide receiver Christian Watson off reserve / physically unable to perform. They also elevated defensive lineman Aaron Mosby from the practice squad to the active roster for game day, but they released tight end Ben Sims. So, listen, I like Ben Sims. Maybe he'll be back. Maybe this is just temporary. But I want to point this out. As Rob Domofsky said down here toward the bottom on a reply or a later tweet, the Packers are releasing tight end Ben Sims per source. That likely means they're activating Christian Watson, which they did, and keeping 2 kickers for at least another week. So I like Ben Sims, but if you made me choose, keep Ben Sims, who's going to probably ride the pine because Fitzpatrick has obviously passed him up on the depth chart, or keep Havrasik as an insurance policy at kicker. I'm going with Havrasik. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but nonetheless, Christian Watson back. I am over the moon about this. Jacob, what's your take on it, man? How you feeling about it?
Yeah, it almost feels a little surreal. When he had that injury, it felt, I was kind of doom and gloom about the situation. Luckily, Christian did not take it that way. He kind of seemed like he dug deep, found whatever kind of grit that it takes to become an NFL player, and then to Tim's point, that feeling of he must have of being back, actually being able to suit up with the guys, not just being a spectator on the sidelines. And to his credit, you've seen guys that have been hurt and kind of just focus on themselves, their own rehab. Christian was in the facility, talking guys, the wide receiver room, being on the sidelines, going out, encouraging his guys. The fact that he was even able to just do slow jogs months and months ago, I thought, oh my gosh, this guy actually going to be back. If you would have told me that he's going to be back for the Steelers game at the beginning of the year, I would have been excited. I probably would have thought you're a liar. In that aspect, it is really, really nice to have a guy of his caliber back in the fold. Hopefully we'll have some other guys that end up being on the better side of the questionable designation there, because if it does, man, it'll be a different Packer team that we haven't seen all year. And I don't know what the necessarily latest news on Golden, but even if he's not healthy this week, and if they both don't give it a go, at some point, knock on wood, we're going to see these two absolute weapons on the field together, and just watching DBs and D coordinators' minds just explode, figuring out, well, who the hell are we going to follow?
It's so true. Like, we were not that far off from talking about, hey, maybe we can get Christian Watson back, before Thanksgiving or by Thanksgiving. heading into Detroit to play the Lions. And here we are going into Sunday Night Football tomorrow night, and Scoot is back. So I think he's ahead of schedule. I don't think he's ever stopped grinding. This is awesome.
Yeah. And, it's funny you mentioned, like, will we have Golden and Scoot on the field at the same time? The way I see Christian Watson, he can play any position in this offense. He knows this offense better than any other wide receiver on the team. There's no two ways about it, right? So he can play X, although I feel like he's most effective at Z and at F, right? And when we say F, we mean slot in Matt LaFleur's offense. So the fact that he can play both of those, if Matthew Golden does miss this game, I think you'll see a little more Savion Williams, because obviously Dontavion Wicks is out, from what I understand. I'm pretty sure he was ruled out. Let me make sure there. I don't want to tell you guys wrong.
I thought he was.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely out.
Him and Elvian.
So now what you got to ask yourself is, do you press into 12 personnel for this game? Or when you do March 11 out there, to me, it feels like Christian Watson, even if he's on a pitch count, he may be playing F, and they may be looking to put Savion out there at Z a little bit. Although Savion, here's the problem I have with a rookie in Savion Williams, who's gotten limited reps during the regular season, playing the F. The F, those choice routes that are attached to Matt LaFleur's offense that we all know, you'll hear us say it in Chalk Talk all the time. I'll lay out the result of the play of what they ended up running, but it doesn't necessarily mean there wasn't a choice route attached, right? So when you're in that F spot and you're constantly moving across the formation, you've got to be able to understand those choice routes at a whole different level. So that makes me a little bit hesitant on saying Savion will be there, but we do know Christian Watson would understand all the choice routes in the F position. However, you probably want him on a pitch count, So let's hope Golden plays. If he doesn't, we may be pressing into 12. Although you let Ben Sims go, that kind of makes me step back and go, okay, maybe this is an 11 personnel, 3 wide receiver set heavy approach here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And maybe it means using Savion a little bit more, as your tight end type of body, even though you only have one tight end on the field. You can get a little heavier without necessarily going to 12 personnel. But, clearly they've made the decision that it's Fitzpatrick, Musgrave, and Tuck Norris. Those are your tight ends. And honestly, 12 personnel sets with any of those guys, I feel good about that. The grouping of talent we have in that tight end room where it stands now, I'm not afraid to press into a little bit of 12 here and there. Or that heavy 11 look, I guess you could say. But you're right. If MG's not good to go, we have to look at, how much we're going to put on Savion Williams' plate offensively, being that he's so, helpful in the return game, and there's other aspects, special teams and those kind of things. So running him out there into the fire, I don't know. But I feel good about our tight end room, even though Big Ben's gone, at least for the time being. I think it makes sense.
Do you think that if Golden's a no-go, Christian's on a heavy snap count, possibly even really limited, if at all, would you look at a guy like Savion to step in and get the majority of those reps, or would you lean more on somebody that's a little more steady Eddie, tried and true, like a Malik Heath?
That's a great
I'm going to go with my dog, Malik Heath.
Dude, I just love Malik Heath.
I don't want to overlook Savion Williams because he's a dog too, and he's only going to get better with the more reps he get. I mean, we're a couple years removed from saying the same thing about Malik Heath, right? Oh, we got to get him more touches, get him more snaps. Yeah, it's true. That's a great question, Jacob. What do you think? I
kind of feel like you guys may disagree. I'll get your take on this. I kind of feel like Savion and Malik Heath are at the same level right now. And Malik Heath has done, with his opportunities, his limited opportunities, he has maximized them, no doubt. Yeah. But what we've seen out of Savion this year, I don't remember seeing him drop a pass. I don't remember seeing him run a wrong route, right? Now, is his stats off the charts? No. But I just don't see him making mental mistakes, which is a good sign too. So, and like you were saying, Jacob, essentially what you've got is, 7-8 years ago, we would have been referring to Malik Heath and Savion Williams as what we call slot bullies, right? That was a thing that took over the NFL for a few years, where you would put a huge wide receiver in at the slot so they could get in there and dig the nickel and dig the safety out on these running plays. And both of those guys would be good slot bullies, which kind of goes hand in hand with what you were saying about Savion Williams. I mean, I'm glad you bring that up, Jacob, because I've already I don't want to say I've forgotten about Malik Heath, but he wasn't on the forefront of my mind, that's for sure.
Yeah. I like what Drew D says. I love watching Savion's yak in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
It seems like between him and Tuck Norris that when those guys get the ball, they're going to get you at least another 5 to 7 yards after they catch. It seems like no matter what. And to your point, Clayton, that's a really good point. I haven't thought about it. I can't remember any sort of mental mistake, any mistake at all from Savion, other than him just coming in there and doing exactly what they asked him to do. A couple of ends arounds maybe that didn't come to fruition, but it wasn't anything that he did. It was maybe the blocking wasn't there. Just the play call was kind of not at the right situation. So I'm excited to see what he can do, man.
Yeah, me too. Anything else you guys got on the Christian Watson news or anything at all, boys?
Did we say we're fired up that Scoot's back? Ahead of expectations?
Yeah.
Ahead of schedule? I love it, man.
There you go. So if you're watching this video back later, let us know in the comments. What do you think about Christian Watson potentially returning tomorrow night? How many snaps would you put him on? We want to hear from you in the comments. Also, which would you rather have on the field if Matthew Golden is out? Would you rather have Malik Heath or Savion Williams filling in that role the majority of the time? There'll be a heavy rotation anyway, but let us know in the comments. We want to know what you think about that. Make sure you hit subscribe and click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. Last comment on this, too, over this says Savion has such a unique role, but he knows it so well. It's so true. And also, I mean, I have so much confidence in Savion as a return guy. Like we haven't seen him get blown up yet. And it's because I think those gunners are going down the field going, I didn't want to hit this guy. Look how big this dude is, right? So I think it has a lot to do with it. So,
Absolutely.
All right, let's jump into the game plan. Y'all ready for this, boys? How about that image right there? Isn't that wild? Jordan
Just
Love,
a couple of goats,
It's going to be awesome, man. It's going to be absolutely awesome. I have dove into the numbers so much today. I've been just watching banger after banger of college football all day long and just diving into the analytics, diving into the tendencies, all that stuff, and getting so ready for this game. It's just going to be an absolute blast. So the game plan over on Patreon. Here we go. We talked about the injury report. Let's hit on it one more time real quick. Just the most important aspect. You've got 5 players on the Packers roster who are listed as questionable. That means a 50% chance of playing. Defensive lineman Devontae Wyatt, wide receiver Christian Watson, kicker Brandon McManus, wide receiver Matthew Golden, and defensive lineman Warren Branson. So keep in mind, even though Christian was activated, it doesn't mean he's going to play tomorrow. We think he is. And based off of his IG story and all the hype around it, I think he will be on the field. I think he'll be suited up. But nonetheless, those are the 5 that you want to keep your eye on. Listen, if Devontae Wyatt goes out there, that's going to be absolutely awesome. I mean, he ramped up all week long. We talked about that. He started limited, I think he did not participate. No, he started limited, and then he went into pads, although it was still technically limited, but he practiced with the pads on the last 2 days, so I think he's tracking for it for sure. Brandon McManus, I don't know. It's hard to tell. You kept Haversick, I think, for an insurance policy, and rightfully so. I think that dude has shown he's a quality kicker, and it's nice to have 2 kickers. Jacob, we went from not having a kicker to having 2 kickers. Pretty damn cool, man.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Matt LaFleur was asked point blank, I believe, yesterday at a press conference, if you have any doubts about McManus, would you go into this game with 2 active kickers? He said, if I'm honest, I don't want to do that, but if I have to do that, it's something we'll take a look at. So I think that some of these moves may show that they are considering it. He did also go on to say, though, that he had McManus actually kicking yesterday, walked up to him and asked how he felt. McManus supposedly said he felt great. So I don't know what to think at this point, if he's just going to be ultra careful and make sure that, like you said, something crazy doesn't happen. We know that we can trust a guy like Haversick, which is crazy to think that, like you said, we have 2 kickers, both of which we don't even sweat it if they're kicking like 62 yarders. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Maybe it's a scenario where we're able to let McManus come back and just do some place kicking for us, field goals, extra points, and then Haversick just handles kickoff duties if you're going to have them both active. And then you've got an insurance policy. You ease McManus back into it. And if you've got to, bust Haversick back down to the practice squad at some point, it is what it is. But I like the approach of having a backup plan because, you never know. McManus is not getting younger, right? And we all know how it feels when you get up in the morning once you get past, 35 years old or so. It's your healing time takes a little bit longer, so I'm all for it.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. And again, well, shout out to Carson Caldwell here from the Caldwell Corner. Go give him a follow on all socials. Look for him on IG as well. Dobbs going for 120 plus with a tud without Wicks and a banged up Golden. Man, and they play a lot of single high looks, right? A lot of cover 3 and a lot of cover 1 man. When they're in that cover 1 man, stretch that 2 out and bring Dobby in at the 1 on the dig. Eat all night long, man. That would be absolutely awesome. So in terms of the injury report for the Steelers, just real quick, the one I've got my eye on is Zach Frazier. He was limited Wednesday, did not participate Thursday, was back limited Fridays, listed as questionable. That's their starting center. So just keep an eye on that. If they're without their starting center, it could get very, very interesting quick. We may be hearing, snap the effing ball, Josh. You know what I'm saying? They might hear that a time or 12.
Especially if Devontae Wyatt's back in the fold too. That'll be even better. Second or third string center against our full, as close as we can be to full strength in the middle there. I love it.
Yeah. I like this right here, man. He said, forget the offensive game plan. Let's run 2 kicker sets. Let's get 2 kickers on the field at the same time. I want to see Haversick in the Wildcat package. That's what I want.
Oh man.
Boy. Clayton, were you watching Alabama? South Carolina just fall apart just now,
bro. It's been a wild day. It's been
tough
awesome. All day long. It's just been Vanderbilt, Missouri. Boys, if you'd have looked at the score, you'd have said, what a boring game. But if you watched that game, it was just, the momentum was swinging in both directions the whole game. It was absolutely awesome. But anyway, yeah, it's I've got it on over here too. I got the quad box going. So Kentucky's about to get their ass kicked by Tennessee. So we'll go down with the ship like we always do, But anyway, offensive game plan, Packers Steelers. Here we go. Passing attack. All right. You guys know I'm very, very conservative, right? I'm all about run the rock, control the clock, don't get too aggressive. This feels a little different. I'm going to explain why. All right? With the Steelers' pass defense vulnerable, the Packers should unleash Jordan Love in an aggressive aerial attack this Sunday. Ranked 21st in EPA per dropback, allowed at a positive 0.11. Pittsburgh struggles to disrupt timing routes. They also ranked 17th in yards per pass attempt allowed at 6.6, inviting big plays against coverage lapses. Love should look to put Pittsburgh on their heels early to set up the run game, being prepared to see mostly middle field closed looks. Okay, what do we mean by middle field closed? If you look at the coverage that they run, guys, they run cover 3 34% of the time. That's middle field close. That means single high safety, and you got 2 deep thirds with the corners, depending on what cover 3 you're running. So essentially what you're doing is you've got a 3 deep look, and then you got everybody else underneath with a typical 4-man rush. 34% of the snaps. That's called middle field closed because the post safety is playing between the hashes. Now, they run cover 1 man 28% of the time. Okay, that's also known as middle field close. So when you total those up, 28 and 34, what is that? 62? 62% of their snaps on defense is typically middle field closed. All right. So you got to be careful and don't read man and throw into cover 3. That can get you in trouble. Right now, what can the Packers do to combat that? You could go a number of different ways. Right. You could have Dobby working on the boundary X and work in the middle of the field, right, in case they do to go to some kind of specific cover 3 look. Also, what you can do, I was thinking about this earlier, if you go with like a Trey Wright look and you run flood concepts, you may be able to force them out of a normal cover 3 sky, cover 3 buzz, and get them into what we call a cover 3 Mabel. Cover 3 Mabel was specifically created to take away flood concepts. A flood concept is when you're attacking the sideline at 3 levels, the flat, the out, in a corner typically, or a go if you're in a true, tray set. So with that being said, you've got a multitude of options to attack through the air. I want to say be careful, be aggressive. How do I say this? Be aggressive, but don't be cocky. Don't be arrogant. Don't be reckless with the football, right? Be willing to take the check down, but look to pass early and often, I think, in this game is what it feels like. And I know people hear that and they probably think, man, they got TJ Watt, they got Cam Hayward. I got you. The numbers are showing, guys, a combination of EPA per dropback and, like we said, and yards per pass attempt allowed at 6.6. They are middle to bottom third in terms of pass defense. I really do feel like we should attack through the air. And again, if you jump out to an early lead, Tim, them fall right back to the run.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially like you said, if they're going to run middle field close looks, hit up the boundary sides as often as you can. We saw Jordan do that a little bit last week against the Cardinals, and he found some success. And like you said about, don't read man and end up throwing into the teeth of a zone. We saw Jordan get away with a couple of those last week as well. I don't think you can do that against the Steelers defense, but I will say that I agree with your premise of maybe this is a pass to set up the run. It doesn't mean get away from the run and don't have a run game and just chuck the ball all day. It means pick your spots and take those 5 to 7 yard runs or 4 yard runs when you can mix them in. But if they're going to look dead red middle field close, you've got to attack the sidelines and the outside. And I think we can. We've seen Jordan do it time and time again. So.
Yeah, and one thing that's mentioned here, Jacob, Nick McSwain mentions in the chat, Ramsey is bad at man. Let me give you guys a specific stat on Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey, that is. Jalen Ramsey's allowed 2 yards per coverage snap when aligning as a wide corner this season. That's 4th most in the NFL with a minimum of 50 coverage snaps, okay? He's getting torched as a wide corner. When you go to 11 personnel, he kicks in as the nickel back, the star position, right, in the slot. He has allowed it says he's also allowed 3 touchdowns from that alignment, talking about outside, tied for 6th most. However, when aligned in the slot, he's allowed just 1.1 yards per coverage snap, nearly half of the 2.0 he's allowed out wide. So what's the point there? Jalen Ramsey plays a lot better in the slot than he does outside. So maybe that along with Matthew Golden being banged up, Christian Watson on a snap count, maybe you do press into 12, keep him on the boundary. Jacob, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you if there was a way to attack that defense better with tight ends rather than trying to worry about what the wide receivers are doing. I agree to that. It's kind of shocking, those Ramsey stats, because everybody sees him as being this kind of shutdown corner based on the name and the title. I kind of agree with you. If you were going to have 12 personnel, am I crazy? You guys can tell me in the chat that I almost would rather have a Fitzpatrick over Musgrave, especially if it's a more physical game. I don't know what you guys' thoughts are on that. I mean, I honestly am kind of upset that they let my boy Ben Sims go, but Fitzpatrick just whenever it was that last game of the season when we saw that weird at the time, it was kind of an out of nowhere healthy scratch for Sims and put Fitzpatrick in. Ever since then, it's been like they haven't looked back. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I love the way that Tucker plays the game. We know what we're going to get with him, just him doing anything and everything we ask him to do, no matter where he catches the ball. He's going to just put his head down and barrel through at least 3 or 4 tackles, get you another 7 to 10 yards. I think Fitz is kind of made in that same mold. I would love to see us personally a little more 12 personnel. And then to Tim's point, I think it's easier to pepper in some really heavy runs out of those formations too. Yeah. So if you can, like you said, set up that pass and then all of a sudden just start pounding it down their throats with Jacobs and the 2 big boys on the outside. So, because I think honestly, when I think about it, I'm worried that that's what they're going to do to us with Washington on the opposite side. That's literally what I'm more afraid of their offensive game plan.
Yeah. Tim, you got anything else to add to that, brother?
I think it just makes a lot of sense. I mean, I'm with you, Jacob. I wasn't super happy to see that Ben Sims got the boot. Kind of like him, especially, his blocking ability and things like that. But I will say this about Fitzpatrick. I think he's slightly underrated as a pass catcher too. You think you're going to press into 12 and you want to go pass heavy. You're thinking Tuck Norris and Luke Musgrave, obviously your pass catching tight ends, but we should not sleep on Fitzpatrick. I think he's got decent hands and brings a little bit more of a complete tight end package than we might have thought initially, which may explain why he's still on this roster and Ben Sims is not, in order to keep the extra kicker around. So I like the approach of getting into those 12 sets and passing and running out of them for that matter.
Yeah. And again, when I mentioned come out and attack through the air, it doesn't mean you just completely neglect the running game, right? And this could be a really key part of the game plan. The Steelers also have struggled to stop the run so far in 2025. They currently rank 20th, allowing 4.4 yards per rush attempt, with the last 3 games breaking the 4.6 mark. Okay, Green Bay's running game has been picking up, averaging 4.5 yards per rush in the last 3 games. The Packers should not get too far away from the run with Josh Jacobs now leading all NFL running backs. I repeat, Josh Jacobs leading all NFL running backs in PFF grade at 83.1, especially if they jump out to an early lead. Again, Use the pass to set up the run, jump out to an early lead, and then just lean on them all day long, man, with that running game. Because, again, as we pointed out here, it's kind of surprising, Tim. It really is because, Pittsburgh is usually they're known for their defense, right? We just talked about their kind of middle of the pack, lower third in terms of pass defense. And then you look at their run defense, and they're sitting in the 20 spot, man. So, and again, the last 3 games, they've given up 4.6 yards per carry. That's 0.2 yards more than the season average. And then their last game, they got smoked off the
ball. Bad.
6.2 yards per rush attempt allowed. So
yep, absolutely. It's going to be close. Either way, it's going to be a close game, I think. We talked about this earlier in the week about, kind of like our defense and Pittsburgh's defense. We both know what they're capable of, and we've seen them at, the kind of the top of the top. But we've also seen them kind of crap the bed and look like a defense that we haven't recognized at times. And I think Pittsburgh is probably more guilty of that than we are on the defensive side of the ball. So we've got to do everything we can to exploit that for sure.
Definitely. So again, you see right here, Josh Jacobs leading all NFL running backs at 83.1 offensive grades. He's got an 81.6 run grade. Look at the fumble grade, guys. 89.0, protecting the football, man. It's absolutely huge. So Bijan Robinson is second. Najee Harris is third. Cam Scatterboo is fourth. How about that? Kenneth Walker, the third, fifth. Jaylen Warren is sixth. Jaylen Warren plays for the Steelers. However, when you look at one of the reasons that Jaylen Warren is grading out so well, it's not showing up here. Obviously, the fumble grade's good too, but his run grade's only a 73.2. He is catching the ball out of the backfield. Aaron Rodgers is checking it down to the running back early and often. I don't worry about that too much because I love the way Bullard attacks the flats, and I love the way Edgerrin Cooper attacks the flats as well, and Quay Walker too. So I feel like that's one of the strengths of our team. If anything, the weakness is if we are going to come out, jump out to an early lead, and play over the top, that Aaron's still got the arm strength to thread the needle on those outs and stuff, right? So working the underneath game outside of the hashes, I could see him going that route as well. So, So the next key here on offense, protect Jordan Love. The Steelers defense could get hot at any moment, and if they do, it will be because of their pass rush. Matt LaFleur has to make sure Jordan Love gets the ball out quick so studs Cam Hayward and TJ Watt don't hit home with the pass rush. Alex Highsmith is another edge defender who is due a big game. And I didn't even mention Urbig. Urbig is unbelievable, if that's how you say his name, out of Wisconsin. He's off to a strong start. He's grading out like a 92 on PFF, and it's like over 200 snaps. He's actually one of the Tuesday players we'll wrap up with here in a minute. So, again, you got to protect Jordan Love, and when you look at it on the surface, just insert – I don't know why PFF did not put Nick Urbig in there, but picture him on the other side with a 92 grade. I think it was 92 if I remember correctly. Yeah. Picture him on the other side where Highsmith is, TJ Watt on one side, and then Cam Hayward work in the middle. We've got to protect Jordan Love. That ball has got to come out. So when we say attack through the air, guys, it doesn't mean 5-step drop and throw that thing 80 yards. It just means come out throwing the football and get them on their heels early.
Yep. Great icing on the cake is that Jordan Morgan is proven to really be great at pass pro from that guard position. Which makes sense. He's a natural tackle, so he's kind of coming into his own, playing at the right guard spot, and right on time if we need to get that ball out and keep Jay Money off the turf, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Left Coast Cubby asked a question here, Jacob. He says, I understand what Tuesday player means, but what is the origin? The first time I heard Tuesday player was Bill Belichick talking about it. And what that means is they would come in each week. Like, let's say you play on Sunday, right? And this is just kind of behind the scenes, behind football, right? You play on Sunday. Monday, what happens, typically guys will come in for treatment and they watch the tape together. Everybody goes back through and you do kind of your film study session, right? So you're learning from your mistakes on Monday from what happened the previous game, right? You're kind of, here's what we need to work on. Here's what we did well. Here's the missed opportunities, right? Then on Tuesday, when you come back into the office, the coaches wake up on Tuesday morning and they're going, all right, what players do we really got to focus on stopping this week for this team? That's why they're called Tuesday players. So you meet with your coaching staff on Tuesday, the upcoming opponent, this guy, and this guy, they're the game wreckers. All right, what do they do well? How does the team like to utilize them? That's where it came from. I first heard it from Bill Belichick, but Bill Belichick would be the first to tell anybody everything he's learned. he's learned it from someone else, right? Or everything he's implementing, he's learned from someone else. So that's where it came from. Left Coast Cubby. Thank you for the question, buddy. All right. Anything else on offense, Jacob? You want to add anything to what we just talked about with the pass rush? Are you concerned with them hitting home with Jordan Love, or do you feel pretty confident we can protect him?
I think on one of Ryan's prior podcasts this week, he did talk about how Highsmith is kind of having a down year, Watt kind of having a down year, Hayward, even though the PFF grade looks pretty enticing there, he's also percentage-wise, the guys are all kind of not getting home as often as they would. He did also reference that Herbig, that's not just a flash in the pan this year. He also came out, and I think he was like an 80 last year as well. Just absolutely kind of one of the most probably unsung heroes of the defense on most teams. So I'm a little bit worried about that. But to Tim's point, I feel like that if there's one thing that our guys do really well still on that offensive line, even though we've had a lot of shakeups, a lot of musical chairs, is that generally they all seem to pass block pretty consistently well. So in that aspect, I'm okay with it. I think that Queen and Wilson, which I believe that's Peyton Wilson, one of the linebackers we had covered, who was ranked pretty high on our board, who came out, I think, had a lot better season last year, and this year is kind of having a little bit of a setback there. But I do think that if we can get the run game going up the middle, it's going to be because we can exploit maybe some of those guys. I've never really been a big Queen fan. I know a lot of Packer fans were absolutely apoplectic when we didn't take him in the draft one of the years, right? So I don't know, man. I think that this defense has some holes that we can exploit. And if Jordan Love is just being a little more cool, confident, calm, doesn't force things, I think that there will be holes if he takes advantage of them. I think that the run game should open up as well.
Yeah, and you mentioned Peyton Wilson. We had a draft grade on him at 60.3. He was the second best linebacker in the draft 2 years ago, and he was 2 tiers higher than Edgerrin Cooper. So he is a player that he put it together last year. He graded out like a 75 last year. This year he's struggling, but man, he could, again, when you see a player struggling and they've shown what their ceiling is, or what they're capable of doing, you got to ask yourself, okay, when are they going to break out, right? Because they're probably going to be able to reach that level again. So anyway, that's going to do it for the offensive game plan. If you're watching this video back later, let us know in the comments what you would do different with that offensive game plan. What do you think about what we put together? Is there a player or two that we're overlooking? And how would you like to see the Packers attack the Steelers defense? Also, hit that like, hit subscribe, and click the bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. All right, let's move along to the defensive game plan, guys. Hey, before we dive into it here, let me just ask y'all, do you have anything at the forefront of your mind in terms of attacking Aaron Rodgers, attacking the Pittsburgh offense before I get into all the details here? I probably should have done that at the top of the show. I apologize.
I just thought it was really cool. I don't know if you guys got to watch Hafley's press conference from yesterday, the day before. It was just kind of funny because right off the bat, they're like, Coach, what's with your second quarter defense? And he started laughing, and actually it was the first time I've seen him and Matt LaFleur get cracked up and actually have like solid laughs in their press conferences. So I don't know what was in the water that day or if they were all just in a good mood, but both the guys who have been pushing back on the media quite a bit lately actually had a good laugh, and it was funny. But they went on to ask him a question. Hafley specifically said, have you ever faced Aaron Rodgers, and what from that, have you learned, and have you talked to anybody in the organization that may have worked with him, trained with him, coached him, and gotten any sort of glimpses or, sneak peeks, if you will, into what it is to play him? And he said, well, yeah. He goes, I'd be stupid if I didn't. He goes, that being said, he's a veteran quarterback. He's basically seen everything in the book. He then went on to ask specifically, have you ever he asked, did you ever play him? He said, yeah, I actually played him here in Lambeau when I was with San Francisco. And then he went on this tirade about how he starts, just like Aaron Rodgers, all of a sudden they click into like that Rain Man mentality where they can just start. He sees the game. He sees it play by play. He starts reciting the coverages, who rolled out this way, the down and distance, and the last 2 plays that set up the game-winning field goal that the Packers ended up kicking and losing. He then recounts that he went back into the locker room that night, and he's sitting there stewing. All the guys had left, so he's like, I'm going to go take a shower now that everybody's gone. He goes to take a shower. All the hot water's gone, and he's at Lambeau. He's freezing his butt off. He gets on the plane. He shivers the whole way home, and he's like, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that game until he just asked that question. And then the reporters go and ask him, they're like, how did you just do that? How do you have that recall like Aaron Rodgers has the recall, where all of a sudden you get into this thing and your brain just opens up? And he played it really humble. He's like, oh, well, I'm not a genius, like Rodgers is, kind of thing. But you could see right in that little flash as he's just rattling off that dude's a football genius. Like, you actually are in presence of a football genius. And I think that, again, most fans that are just kind of casually sitting here on the couch yelling, "Oh, you should have called this play." It's like, dude, you have no idea the mental gymnastics that go into every single play, whether it be the coverages, the schemes, the planning. He talked about how he's like, "Well, I'm not really a genius. I'm a coach. My job is to watch." He goes, "I probably watched that game 100 times." So it's pretty cool.
Let's dive into it here. All right. I think this is the audio. This is at least a part of it. Rob Domofsky tweeted out. Here was Jeff Hafley at that presser that Jacob was talking about.
I played against him here. It was a night game, and I believe it might have went in overtime, or they won it in the fourth quarter. We had stopped them on 4th and goal. We zero blitzed them up the middle. Gosh, I haven't thought about this game in a long time. We sent 3 up the middle. The tight end wrapped up the middle. We threw the ball. Our nickel made the play, diving in the corner of the end zone. I thought we were going to win the game. I think there was under 2 minutes left. And then we drove, and they stopped us. And then we had a 3rd and 20. Now it's all coming back to me. It was 3rd and 20. They came out in 3-by-1. We were in 2-man. Sherm went inside to cover number 3. We sacked him, so it would have been about 4th and forever. But Sherm got called for a holding call, which Sherm never gets called for holding. But he got called for a hold, so it was an automatic first down. Then he hit 2 back shoulders on the right sideline, and then they kicked the field goal and won the game. So I have not thought about that since you asked me that question. So, yeah, I guess I have some fond memories of him, hitting those back shoulders and doing what he does. Yeah, so I do have those bad memories, and now it's all clear. So, oof. So, all right, so then I remember I was all disappointed after the game because I was a DB coach, and it was freezing. So I go to the locker room, and I'm ready to shower after everybody leaves, and then I go in, and there's no hot water. All right, so now it gets even better because this is all coming back to me. So then I go back to the locker without showering, and I am frozen at this point. And I got onto the plane, and I froze the whole way home to San Francisco, miserable and cold. And that's my story about playing the Packers that has not been thought about until you asked me that question. So last week it was the fourth quarter. This week it's my game against Aaron. And next week, I'm not taking any questions from you.
So there you go. I'm glad you brought that up, Jim. Yeah, absolutely awesome. And I'm with you, man. Listen, I try to. We always say let fans fan how you want to fan, right? But there is nothing more aggravating than hearing fans pretend like they've thought of something that these coaches haven't.
Right.
Whether it's right or wrong, that's a different story, right? Like whether the other team game plans around it or the players just execute better. That's why hopefully you guys have caught on this show. When I talk about this stuff, I always say, listen, I always try to, think of the worst coach in the league right now. I mean, the bottom of the barrel worst coach.
Aaron Glenn.
Yes, there you go. Aaron Glenn has forgotten more about football than I will ever know. So when we critique people, I try to put that emphasis on it. Like, listen, I'm not saying that I could do better. It's just like with a player. Like when we show them chalk talk, yeah, he screwed up here. I usually try to say, listen, my fat, out of shape, Caucasian ass couldn't do better. Please don't take this the wrong way, all right? But, if you see it, you got to say it. That's the whole purpose of chalk talk. So with that being said, we've got a lot of chatter this week about how bad this pass defense is, about how bad the cornerbacks are, and these teams are just able to nickel and dime them. And I just threw the screenshot up, guys. You understand that we're number 1 in the league in yards per pass attempt allowed? Number 1, not second, not third, not sixth, first in the league. So if you want us to start playing aggressive and take the underneath stuff away because we want to try to get that down to 5 yards per pass attempt,
I don't want to hear it if we're getting beat over the top.
Don't be crying on Monday. Yep. I'm telling you. And listen, I'm going to show you a play design here in a minute. People, yes, Aaron Rodgers is definitely cutting teams apart underneath, but he is hitting DK Metcalf over the top too. I could show you 2 plays in the last game where he hit him for a 20-something plus yard touchdown pass, where it was an outside, kind of like a wheel route, and then another one where he connected for 39 yards over the top. So you guys know how Aaron is. He just picks his spots, right? Yeah. So again, make other teams. You would rather a team score. And this is the thing that blew my mind. See, I'm getting pissed. I feel like Jeff Hafley now. I'm getting angry. 2 years ago when I started doing, well, it was multiple years ago, but it was 2 years ago specifically when we were doing this podcast. I remember people saying, I would rather them score on 2 plays than 13. I'm going, what are you talking about? You want a team to have to use the entire field because every play they run is a greater the chance of them making a mistake goes up. The chance of them turning the ball over goes up. Anyone who thinks that you should play defense by going, all right, guys, let's let them score on 2 plays so we get the ball back here. What? No, please stop. Just stop.
No.
Turn in your fan card. That's crazy talk. So
that's only like emergency, you have no timeouts. There's, 30 seconds left in the game. You're going to let them in because you want the ball back. Maybe once in a while that happens, but that's definitely not your game plan as a whole, right?
Exactly. So anyway, let's jump into the defensive game plan here. First and foremost, total focus on the passing game. With Aaron Rodgers at the helm, the Steelers currently rank 11th with 7.4 yards per pass attempt. Everything about the game plan should be designed around disrupting the timing while applying pressure to Rodgers. As Micah Parsons said earlier this week, quote, we have to get him off his spot. Pressure with the 4-man rush, allowing 7 in coverage, will be crucial. Okay, so again, when you look at the passing, Pittsburgh is 11th in the league at 7.4 yards per pass attempt. Their last 3 games, they're actually averaging 8. So if you were to flip this and take their 8 and put it in the first column, that would be 5th best in the league over their last 3 games, right? Now, their last game was only 7.3, so slightly worse than their 2025 average. However, we pointed out their running game was better that last game as well. So again, and when they're at home here, it looks like their yards per pass attempt is 6.9. You got to be careful with those statistics home and away because they're playing their best football right now. They're really ramping up and they're picking up steam. So maybe those home games were the first couple of weeks of the season while they were kind of struggling, right? But nonetheless, they were throwing the ball better on the road than they are at home, which is kind of odd, to be honest with you. Aaron, in terms of what he's doing this year, here you can see a good example of how he's ramped it up. Starting in week 1, 54, 62, 34, and then they kind of cut the corner here, 60, 82, 76. So you see he's played his best football. And keep in mind, guys, that's Cleveland in week 6. That's one of the best defenses in the league. And he had an 82.9 against them. So just keep that in mind, all right? So, again, I think, Jacob, the key to this game is going to be total focus on the passing game. Listen, make them show they're going to run the ball because we all know that when Aaron was in Green Bay, there was many times people complained, we need to run the ball more. We need to establish the run, right? But Aaron was out there playing chess. You're going to get that. That's going to happen. He's still doing that. I'm just simply saying let's make sure we're maximizing 7 in coverage. Don't get crazy with the blitz. You're not going to trick Aaron Rodgers.
No.
You got to bring 4 and listen – forget the cage rush. Forget the touch spy. Let those 4 pin their ears back and go after him is what you need to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. In that same aspect, even though if you're still rushing 4, you said let them just kind of line up and pin their ears back. Do you still think it would be smart to just take Micah and let him kind of roam, and then when the snap starts, make sure he's in his stance kind of thing, just to kind of keep Rodgers constantly following him and just kind of, you know what I'm trying to say? Like
what I want to see is Micah in the Joker spot. I want to see him line up. Yeah, and just literally push that pocket right back in his lap.
I want Micah screaming at him too. I want him trying to get in his head. You know what I'm saying though? I want him literally like, I'm watching you, Rodgers. Where are you gonna go, boy? I'm following you.
And I'm telling you, a good way. The thing that Aaron struggled with for so many years, Tim, was 2-man under. Right? It's cover 2 deep safeties. Right? With man coverage across the board, playing somewhat press technique. It could be mirror match or it could be physical press, and you're playing a trail technique. You're taking those slants away, things like that, right? The problem with that is over the years, he's evolved in being able to throw those out routes like crazy, right? So he can, if you show inside leverage with 2-man under, he's going to just give him one of these at the line of scrimmage, 8-yard out, move the sticks. It's going to happen.
And if you go to single high, one safety back there and play middle field close, you're going to get your ass lit up over the top, up the seam. So it's true. The margin of error against, a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers is very minimal. We definitely have to be on our P's and Q's. But that being said, Clayton, you're right. I think Aaron's gotten better at dealing with the too high. I mean, that's basically, a lot of defenses in the NFL they got 2 on the shelf all day long. And, to Aaron's credit, he's adapted his game. I still think that's the safest approach, though. because I feel like if we've got if we're single high for even one snap, Aaron's going to sniff that out, and it's going to be a shot play. So I would agree with moving Micah around, joker package. Let him become that factor that we know he is. But that being said, keep the blitzes to a minimum, and keep everything in front of you, and just hope you get a mistake, hope you get a tip ball. Aaron doesn't throw picks very often. We know that. So it's the best you can do.
Read that comment there, Jacob. That's so true, man.
So for this hits it right on the head. He goes, "We will be fine as long as none of our defenders start doing the belt celly. If you put a quarter in Rodgers, you're going to see the belt celly. You're going to see the finger guns. You're going to see the Mario. We don't want to do that. We don't want any of that. All right."
Yeah. So we're talking to Keyshawn and Nate Hobbs right away. No belts. No belt.
Anybody who's ever done the belt, there's been you can go watch the video. I think there was 3 different players in the course of 5 years.
I think Ramsey was one of them, wasn't it?
He was.
Belt celebration and tore their knee up or something, right? Like it's just crazy because somebody created a video where it was like they jump up and do the belt and then they hit the ground with their knee hurt, and then it would show Aaron going psh, psh, shooting them as they were falling down. It's it's some kind of weird juju there for sure. It might be one of those witches he's dating. Anyway, applying pressure to Rodgers. All right. The key to getting pressure on Rodgers is to avoid having to blitz and rushing 4. All right. Rodgers is still as good as ever at recognizing blitzes and quickly getting the ball out. We kind of just talked about this. This is a game where no touch spy is needed. Attack with the front 4 at reckless abandon with emphasis on exploiting the Steelers' offensive tackles. By doing so, you could play 2-man under defense that has limited Rodgers during his time in Green Bay. However, the Steelers could counter by leaning on their running game, which only ranks 23rd at 3.9 yards per rush, but are coming off of one of their best running games of the season. So if you see here, guys, their tackles are the weak spot of this offensive line. That's assuming their center, Zach Frazier, is going to play. So, if you put Micah in the strength of that defense, right? Think about this. If you put him in there, if you run out a cheetah package, right? Let's say you play cheetah, which is basically 3 edge rushers and 1 true defensive tackle. Imagine Devontae Wyatt as your defensive tackle, Baron Sorrell lining up over Broderick Jones at left tackle, and then you have Rashawn Gary over Fontana at right tackle, and then you have Micah eating in that A gap where he's going to be playing joker. I really like that approach. You're putting your best pass rusher in the strength of their offensive line, and maybe you could have Baron Sorrell or Rashawn Gary take advantage of the fact that their tackles are bad. It's almost like that same bullseye effect, Tim, that Belichick would do, right? He would say rather than double team their number 1 wide receiver, he would double team the number 2 wide receiver with his second and third best corner and put his number 1 corner on the number 2 receiver, right? Chestnut checkers. But what do y'all think about that? How should we attack their offensive line and get pressure on Rodgers before here?
I love that approach. I'm going to steal your thunder and co-sign that and think that it's only going to get better if, especially if Devontae Wyatt's back in the fold, right? And that rotation is, increased even more. I mean, we've gotten some really premium ball out of Colby Wooden these past couple of games. So I feel good about how we look in the middle there. And especially like you said, if Frazier's not a go and, you got a backup center in there. Oh yeah, let's tee off. I love that approach.
Yeah, I agree. I know that Jones, he's been kind of a liability. I think he was a high draft pick that just hasn't really turned out to be what they were hoping at that left tackle position. Like you said, I almost picture like Parsons walking up in that scene from The Waterboy where the kicker's like, where is he? And he finds the guy that's just sweating bullets. And he goes, there's my, you know what? Yeah. I feel like that's how he's looking at Jones. Jones is sweating bullets, just doesn't want to have Rodgers mad at him going back in the huddle. And to Tim's point, the way that Wooden's playing right now, if there was a game that maybe we wanted to give one more rest for Wyatt just to make sure that we're not pushing him back this last 2-3 game stretch that he's had, I would feel, even if it's a cheetah package, having Wooden in there as that lone D tackle and having, like he said, Sorrell, Parsons, even Enigbare, man, I feel like he's been kind of having a quietly better year this year. Maybe he's got a little more size to him, but I love what I've seen out of Sorrell. It is really nice. Again, like who would have thought if without having LVN and Devontae Wyatt that we would still have a really healthy rotation on that D line in general is something that I think is just another hat off to Goody and what they've done just building that roster. But I agree, attacking the outsides and then like if Frazier in there, that's just a whole different ball game. Just have Parsons just eating that guy's lunch.
Yeah.
Yep.
And here's the other thing too. Let's talk schematics for a second.
Ooh.
We're talking about cheetah package, right? Well, the reality is the Pittsburgh Steelers run more 12 personnel than just about anybody. So they run 12 and 13 personnel. I think they run 12 personnel more than 11 personnel, which is really rare. So if you go out there with the cheetah package against a 2 tight end set, you're really, really vulnerable against the run, right? So that's where you got to kind of, we talk about that first quarter is all about gathering information. How are they going to attack you, right? Can we hold up against the run, being aggressive, rushing the passer with 4 like we're talking about, or are they pressing into the run? And I know they haven't been effective at it other than this last game they played. Maybe we need to adjust. You got to be quick to adjust to those things. So I don't want it to make it sound like it's just, okay, let's go out there, lighten the britches and rush the quarterback, because they will run the rock out of 12 and 13 personnel for sure. So,
and what is that going to make you do? You're going to start pulling safeties up into the box. You're going to start getting into these looks, and then you're going to get beat over the top.
By who, Tim? DK Metcalf. This is pretty straightforward. All right. All caps. Do not allow DK Metcalf to get hot. All right. If Rodgers goes to him, make sure it's while throwing into the teeth of the defense. Metcalf currently ranks 20th with a 78.6 PFF grade while leading the Steelers with 406 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns. He also ranks 3rd in the NFL at 18.5 yards per reception. Okay, so the PFF grade's checking out. He's a top 20 wide receiver in that regard. He's 3rd in the league in yards per reception at 18.5. People they immediately think, well, it's because that 80-yard slant he caught. That helped. But again, you can go watch the tape. There's multiple plays of him beating people deep down the sideline, right? So got to be really, really aware of that. And here you see the yards per reception. Tyquan Thornton leading the way at 22.2. Then Alec Pierce again at 19.8. He's a stud. And then DK Metcalf at 18.5 as it sits right now. So, again, DK Metcalf is someone to keep your eye on there for sure. We're going to bounce back to the Tuesday players because we're kind of talking about this topic I added in right here, right now. So let's talk about their tendency since we just mentioned it, okay? Personnel tendency on offense, you see here, 40% of their snaps, they're playing 12 personnel. That's insane, guys. That is insane. So they're only in 11 personnel 26% of the time. Now, they got a modified 11 that they're talking about right here where they're showing it at 6%. So let's just tack that on. That would bring it up to, 33% of the time they're in 11 personnel. So if you combine 12 personnel at 40%, and you combine and throw 13 in there with it at 15, because that's going to trigger at a minimum our 4-3 defense, maybe even some kind of hybrid 4-4 look, then you're talking about 55% of their offensive snaps. When we're on defense, 55% of the snaps, we're going to be in our base package. So probably going to see Isaiah McDuffie quite a bit in this game, and he's playing great football right now. So that's kind of exciting. Again, they could change it up. That's what the tendencies where they're at right now. That's where they sit right now. And when you look at like how effective they've not been near as effective passing the ball out of 12 personnel as 11. As you can see, 11, they're at a positive 0.37 EPA per pass, and they're only at 0.04 EPA per pass in 12 personnel. Okay. So just to kind of give you an idea there, they both rank 11th in that regard, but from just a strictly productive standpoint, they're way better passing out of 11, as most teams are, than they are out of 12, if that makes sense. So EPA per rush, what's crazy is their running game out of 12 personnel, that's that positive 0.02. When they run out of 11, it's negative 0.11. And out of 13, it's actually worse at a negative 0.16. So moral of the story, Jacob, when they're in 3 wide receiver sets, key in on the pass, right? When they're in 12, key in on the run. That's essentially what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't quite read the screen because I'm old now. What is that 8th personnel? 04? What would you call 04?
Yeah, so think about it. The first number is the number you're running.
That could be like spread, basically.
4 tight ends, no running backs.
Yeah. So you're talking about the first number is your running back. Okay. So there's 0 running backs. The second number is tight end. So you got to set where there's 4 tight ends in and no running back.
That's crazy. Does that happen often in the NFL?
No, not that I can think of.
Man,
now,
some teams don't even have 4 tight ends on the roster.
Maybe they included in this data. If they did, I don't like that they did. Maybe that field goal unit could be right. Because you think they may put 4 tight ends on the field in field goal protection. That kind of makes sense. But again, I don't have the breakdown of why they have that there for sure. I was surprised they ran 22 sets. That kind of caught me off guard there. That they ran 22
Yeah.
personnel too. It's like, damn, how many players do y'all have on your roster? You got enough tight ends to run 4 tight end sets, and you got enough running backs to run 2 out there. It's pretty wild.
They've done it 7 times, right? Four and 3 here. That's crazy.
So again, the main thing you want to key in on those 12 personnel. That's what they're going to be in the majority of the night. Even if that number dips to 30%, it's still dramatically higher than most teams in the league for sure. So, all right. And then on defense, in terms of coverage, what do? We kind of talked about it already, right? They're sitting at a 0.11, bottom half of the league in terms of EPA per dropback. They're playing cover 3 34% of the time, cover 1 man 28% of the time. And then their third most ran defense at 12% is a cover 4. So they will break out a little quarter on you. So you got to be careful with that quarters coverage, right? Because you'll throw right into the teeth of the defense if you get too pass happy. So you want to be able to pre-snap, read, and recognize they're in quarter coverage, and let's run the rock. Now, historically speaking, I do remember 2 years ago, Tim, when we played Pittsburgh, I remember people complaining about the Joe Barry defense that we didn't have enough guys in the box. And I remember Matt LaFleur specifically saying Pittsburgh had no problem meeting their run fits out of quarter coverage shell. So they can meet their run fit out of the shell. They're just not doing it well this year, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, and I think it does make sense. It makes sense that they're mirroring it off of that cover 1 man look too. You see 28% of the time, and then they're going to that quarters look, which, if you see a bunch of man and you go to quarters, it can be deceiving in the thick of battle to get the right calls. So I would anticipate though that Pittsburgh probably plays a little bit less man than the normal 28% that they are, and maybe we do see more quarters coverage, especially if we're attacking through the air, right?
I could see that. Maybe that man coverage dips to around the 16 or 15% mark, and maybe quarters jumps up just a touch, right?
Yep.
Somewhere around there.
Depending on how the game goes, right? If we get what we want in that passing game, I wouldn't be surprised if they taper down on that man coverage. Yeah,
and we've been attacking man here lately. That's who we've been playing against, and you're seeing a lot of crossers and a lot of mesh concepts here lately. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they did. And I had that number wrong. I was looking at the wrong one. It's 28% of the time they're running cover 1 man. So maybe that dips to like a 25 or a 23%. Yep. And then, of course, that cover 6, maybe it spikes up to like a 15 or a 16%, something like that. So,
bottom line, we got to be ready for it all, though, because
absolutely
they're going to try and throw it all at us for sure.
That's Mike Tomlin, baby. Mike Tomlin. All right, so let's talk about a play real quick, and then we'll jump up to the Tuesday players. We'll get out of here. All right, so this is what I was talking about. Aaron Rodgers, just a 39-yard pass to DK Metcalf. They came out in a 12-gun, empty chips left, T-right, all go, double leak. All right, so when you look at this play, again, they are in this specific play, they're in 12-gun. And look at how they disguise it. I'm going to try to get it to where I can get it on the screen completely. It's kind of tough with Patreon. All right, so what you've got here, guys, if you can see my cursor, they're in an empty set. This is their running back right here, I believe. Yeah, there's their running back. So he's T-right, okay? So he's in the 2 on the right side, but he's almost playing like the tight end position. And both of their tight ends are right here, okay? And then, of course, they got their other receiver there because they're in 12 personnel. So they'll go 12 empty chips on you. So you may get used to them being under center a lot, and that's what their OC likes to do. Their OC, I'm trying to think of his name. He's the former head coach in Tennessee. His dad was the former Marine that started FedEx, I think. I love this story. I can't think of his name right now, but his family is crazy wealthy, and he wanted to be a coach. Pretty cool, right? That he just jumped into football. He don't have to work a day in his life. But anyway, can't think of his name. Somebody help me in the chat. I'm sure somebody will think about it in a minute. Anyway, so they'll show that 12 look, right? And they'll go Arthur Smith. Thank you, Jay. So they'll show like a 12 heavy look, right? And they'll go to, like a Trey Wright 12 heavy. And then all of a sudden they come out in the empty chips. And these two guys right here, they're chipping. So they're going to chip your edge on their way out and give Aaron a couple check downs. So that's going to knock your edge rushers off track like we were just talking about. Well, guess what? That chips, that doesn't help you at all if you got Micah in that Joker 1 spot, right? So I'm with you, Jacob. Joker 1 makes all the sense in the world in this game. So, again, the play they hit on here is an out and up. And I called it all go because that's essentially what it is. This guy's playing outside leverage. So what DK's looking to do is to get him to commit out and then go up the sideline. It's exactly what he does. I can't play the play. I don't have the video. I just want to show you the play diagram here. So again, that play call that they ran was 12 gun, empty chips left, T right, all go, double leak. You got 2 check downs for Aaron. And it's basically, imagine if we're in a cover 3 look, right? All of these all go should be covered. The reason he gets beat is look how far this corner is up. Now, if we're playing off, they don't hit on this explosive. They're probably having to check it down. And I know that's going to tick some people off because there's fans that want us to play more aggressive and take the underneath stuff away. I would much rather force them play after play after play to go underneath than hit on this 39-yarder right here. Does that make sense, Tim?
It does. I mean, that's why, they got beat on this play. It worked. You know what I mean? Like they're playing too close. They didn't have safety help to that side. And, Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf are going to do that too. I don't give a crap. They're going to do it to 31 teams in this league if you get caught like this.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. I just want to highlight that play. Now let's get to the Tuesday players. Tuesday players. And again, we kind of describe what this is. This is just basically the players you need to game plan against. Number 1, TJ Watt. Listen, he's having a down year, right? He's currently grading out a 78.3. Hell of a down year, right? 62.6 last game, at 87 in Cleveland, a 71 against Minnesota. I say in Cleveland, against Cleveland in Pittsburgh. So he's put together 2 games this year where he's graded out over 80. So it's not like he's just a bum, right? He's not off to the hot start that we're used to seeing him get. And when you look at his stats here lately, starting in week 1 in terms of sacks, no sacks in week 1 and 2. Then he piled up 2 sacks on the road in New England against the Patriots. Picked up another sack against the Vikings at home, and then got a half a sack against the Browns at home. And you see his quarterback pressure percentage has been kind of up and down, 9%, 16%, 16%, 6%. And then last week against the Browns, 22% quarterback pressure rate. All right. So TJ Watt, definitely a Tuesday player. Next is Cam Hayward, defensive tackle. He's grading out at 89.6. Obviously, he could play a 3-tech. He could play a 1-tech. He's just he's a dude that's been in the league forever. And look at the grades, man. I couldn't even put his entire career in, but it's just 89, 84, 91, 89, 90, 89, 73, 90, 89. He's
73, he was hurt that year, right? 2023.
I think so, yeah. Only 400, a little less than 500 snaps, right? So now in terms of what he does well, let's look at the sack numbers so far this year. No sacks in week 1 and 2. He picked up his only sack of the season in week 3, and then he hasn't had a sack, obviously, in week 4 and week 6. When you look at his pressure percentage, his best game was on the road at the Patriots, 14% pressure rate. Other than that, he's kind of par for the course. He's more of that run stopper in the middle, but again, a Tuesday player that can wreck your game plan if you do try to run a lot of inside zone against Cam Hayward. So another player to look out for. This is the one we were talking about, Jacob. This is Wisconsin's finest right here, man. Nick Urban, right? 6'2", 240. Ran a 4.6 40. Obviously played for Wisconsin. He was drafted in 2023, 4th-round selection, so they knocked that one out of the park. In terms of his grades this year, 73, 78, 76, 94 against Cleveland, and then a 90.4 against Cincinnati. So he is racking it up. You see, since he's come into the league, 81, 80, and a 91. He's a stud. And you see his snaps, only 211 snaps his rookie year. He doubled that his second year in the league, and now he's on track to probably have somewhere around 600 snaps this year. So another player to look out for. 0 sacks in week 2 there. He didn't play in week 1, it looks like. In week 3, he had a sack. Week 4, he had 1.5 sacks. Week 6 against the Browns, 2 sacks. And then week 7 against the Bengals, he did get blanked. But when you look at the pressure percentage, Jacob, 14%, 21%, 10%, 22%, 10%. He never dips below 10, Jacob.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, this may be one of the most underrated players in all of the NFL, just because there's so much talent on that D-line and big names that are still playing somewhat well into their late years. But like you said, that quarterback percentage, for those that are maybe not well known in the pressure percentage, basically anything over 10 is considered pretty good. Yeah. So if you're consistently, his worst game is a 10.3. And his best is he's got 2 games in the 20s, 1 near a 15. I mean, that guy's just coming in, like you said, and just steady Eddie as it can get right there. And plus, you look at the stops, he's just really, really good at what he does. So it's going to be interesting to see how we react to that line.
Don't
Yeah.
sleep on the coverage grade with him either. You see that's been steadily improving too if they pull him out in a coverage. And then even the tackle grade. Tackle grade looked like something that he's, kind of struggled with, and that's been improving steadily for like the past month. So keep an eye on that.
And he had 5 coverage snaps against Minnesota. Why do I mention that? Minnesota runs a very, very, very similar offense that we run, right?
Mhm.
So maybe they seen something on tape. Hey, let's drop him into coverage a little bit more there. So, and then of course DK Metcalf, we kind of talked about him already. His grades on the year starting in week 1, 75, 63, 65, 91, 79, 59. So his overall grade is 78.6. We kind of talked about it. And of course, the big thing that sticks out to me there with DK is the yards per reception. Now, when you look at it from a weekly standpoint, starting in week 1, his yards was 83, then he dipped to 20, 32, and then against the Vikings, he broke out at 126. What do the Vikings do, guys? They blitz like hell. Aaron, cut them up when they blitz like that. So
do that,
that's
you're going to get your ass kicked in that.
That is correct, Coach. So that's why I'm saying just bring the 4-man rush, keep 7 in coverage, and make Aaron second guess everything post snap and see if your 4 can hit home. I think that's the right approach. And then, of course, he had 95 yards against the Browns. And look at his yards per reception starting in week 1, 20 yards, 6, 10, 25, and 23. So his last 2 games, he's averaging roughly 22 yards, 24 yards.
24, yeah.
Yeah. So
No press man at all on DK, please.
Yeah.
None whatsoever.
if you play man coverage, it better be catch man. That's what it better be.
Yep.
All right. And then, of course, we got Aaron. And listen, I know the numbers aren't, what they are, the grades aren't what they have been in the past. I think PFF smoking crack, to be honest with you. They got him at a 64.3. That's right. So they're saying he graded out a 54, 62, 34, 60, and then an 82 and a 76 the last 2 games, right? I love it. So when you look at his numbers on the year, though, guys, what's he up to now? 5, 7, 8, 10. Is that 10 touchdown passes? I thought he had more than that. Maybe that's all it was. But 10 touchdown passes and only 3 interceptions is what we're showing here. So Aaron still got it, boys. He's still got it. And his completion percentage, I wish we had the totals. I actually had them pulled up earlier. I'm not gonna put it on the screen, but I just want to read it off to you guys because I know his stats. When you just look at his overall stats, here we go: 1,270 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a 105 passer rating. He's averaging 7.4 yards per attempt. His completion percentage is 68.6%. His EPA is a positive 15.8. EPA per dropback is a plus 0.09. So Aaron's still playing good ball, man. And I feel like he's heating up, unfortunately, right as we're coming into Pittsburgh. So
really the Steelers as a whole, the last 3 weeks, right, have really kind of started to put things together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again, these were just the latest weekly numbers here. I'm not sure exactly why it wasn't showing them all, but updated numbers was definitely 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions is his total number there. Yeah. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you, buddy. All right. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's the game plan. What's your all's final thoughts on it, man? Anything else y'all want to hit on here before we wrap up?
No single high safety, no press man.
All right. Got it. Jacob, you got anything, man? Anything that kind of pops out to you like, hey, we should do this or we should not do that?
No, I kind of just to mirror what Tim just said, no single high, no press man. Xavier McKinney was asked in a press conference, basically, how do you guys rebound after what happened to certain DBs last game? And they basically said Hobbs without saying Hobbs. Halfley was asked roughly the same question. Xavier said multiple different times in the interview, like, we have to have that one play mentality where you completely forget it, whether you just made a hell of a play, whether you just made the terrible, mistake that costs a touchdown. No matter what it is, you have to get up completely, men in black, mind erase, whatever you just had happen, and just play each single down like it's, the most important down, because that's literally what it is sometimes, and it comes down to the end of the game. I think if this DB room can just not beat themselves, I think that, let those front 4 cook and really just kind of playing what's in front of them, keep it in front of them. Don't let Rodgers get, like you said, start picking us apart because we're doing stupid blitzes or maybe different packages. I think that the way to run this defensive scheme is just how we talked about. Get there with 4, use Micah and some very interesting looks, maybe pre-snap, him being a little sugar, a little joker, whatever you want to call it. And then just these guys have to come out and play. They have to finish. I'm a little more nervous that, I don't want to be pessimistic, but if this game was at home, I'd feel a lot better about it. It's just our performance on the road has been very lackluster for almost years now, honestly. And I just hope that maybe going to the Eastern coast rather than the West Coast, we can maybe break free. And I expected the weather to be it's not like people forget it was nearly, I think, 90 degrees in Arizona when we played. I mean, it's just not our type of ball. Let's go over to Pittsburgh and I'm guessing it's got to be, 40s or 50s type weather. That just feels like an old school, just absolute gridiron type game. Very excited. I believe that if we do go into Pittsburgh and get a dub, it'll be the first time since 1970.
That is correct.
That is correct. So I don't know what to think about that. It's too long of a drought, in my opinion. We obviously know the other way. If Rodgers ends up beating us, he will become the 5th quarterback to do that, to beat all 32 teams with, I think, rare air. I believe it's Peyton, Drew, Tom, and one others that I can't think of right now. But it's a big game, man. Everybody's trying to tamp it down. I know the coach's job is to do that, is to not let this get in a guy's head about being a Rodgers versus Love game. It's the Packers versus Steelers, but there is definitely a lot of other narratives that are stringing off. It's going to be absolutely enticing to watch. I'm already nervous about it. I feel like I might toss my cookies at the moment. I don't know what I'm going to feel tomorrow with the pregame show. I'm telling you, I might be calling some dinosaurs.
Got it. Not so cool. It is Warren. Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry, but what were you going to say, man?
No, go ahead. Get to the comment. TJ Warren being a factor.
He's talking about Jalen Warren is who he meant, I believe. Running back. Listen, he's been cranking it up. Don't get me wrong. 311 yards rushing, 4.4 yards per carry. His last game, I want to say, was his best. Let's take a look here real quick. We should be able to get a weekly. Where's it at? Here we go. All right. So, starting in, and they've got it kind of backwards here. Let's actually do it this way. All right. So, hopefully these are all the games listed. Sometimes it gets a little wonky. So, here are his rushing yards starting in week 1, okay? 37, 48, 47, 52, and then against the Bengals, 127 yards rushing. So, he went off against the Bengals. Again, I'm not concerned with our run defense. Our run defense has been stout. We got a top 3 run defense in the league. So that's why I'm saying make them show they're willing to run the ball, right? And then you kind of adjust as the game goes on. But, he averaged 7.9 yards per carry against the Bengals. One of those don't belong, right? You got a 3.4, 3.4, 2.6, 4.7, and a 7.9. But he is ramping up. He's had his best 2 games or his last 2 games. And the Browns are a solid defense. They only ran the ball 11 times with him in that game. He got 16 carries against the Bengals. So, Warren's definitely a factor. I just didn't classify him not so cool as a Tuesday player, right? I had to cut it off somewhere. And I almost mentioned him because he is grading out really well. But again, one of the reasons he's grading out well, let me put that back up real quick. If it'll let me pull up the receiving, this is another way that he's been effective, right? When you look at his receiving yards, 22, 86, 34, 11, and 31. And then that last game, even with all those rushing yards and that 31 yards receiving, he was averaging 7.8 yards per catch. So Aaron really likes to check it down to Warren.
He's a regular Josh Jacobs, that guy over there.
Yeah. Couldn't hold Josh Jacobs' job. You know what I'm saying? All right. I think that's it, boys. Anything else? Anything at all?
I just wanted to piggyback off of Jacob's comment about the secondary. I really do think it's going to come down to our corners and our corner play. One thing we didn't talk about is, we always talk about pressure, pick, coverage, sack. If our coverage can hold strong and we don't get caught, getting overly aggressive with, blitz packages and things like that, we could be looking at a scenario where if our front maintains their edges, you got Aaron standing in the pocket, patting the ball and nowhere to go with it. And that's a scenario that's going to, definitely play to our advantage. Obviously, Aaron can extend the pocket. We know that. Step up, step out, step over. But, he's still doing his thing. I don't think we're super concerned about Aaron Rodgers taking off and scrambling for, 85 yards on us or something like that. So I really think if we mix our coverages and we stay disciplined in the secondary and on the back end, it's going to make, it a little bit harder on Aaron when it comes to diagnosing what we're doing out there.
I'll tell you who's really, really, really good at adjusting to the quarterbacks that step up and out like Aaron does is Micah Parsons.
Mike Parsons, yeah.
That's one of his superpowers for sure, is his ability to just change directions, how quick he can get in the backfield. If we are bringing him on that Joker one look and firing him in the A gap, and Aaron tries to step up into that, he's gonna get smacked in the mouth. There's no doubt in my mind. So yeah,
absolutely.
So all right, that's it, guys. That'll wrap it up. Let us know in the comments what you think about everything we covered here tonight on this game plan, and specifically our defensive game plan for stopping Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Also, make sure you hit subscribe and click that bell icon so you're notified when we go live here in the future. Tim, tell them about our charity we're raising awareness for here, man.
OperationHorsesHeal.org/how can I help if you want to donate. Got a little over a week left. Every donation is an entry to win that autographed Romeo Dobbs jersey. We partnered up with Operation Horses Heal to help raise some money for a truck and horse trailer to help bring life-changing horse-assisted programs directly to veterans and their families, providing the space and environment to allow for their own self-guided wellness journey. So if you care about veterans like we care about our veterans, make sure you donate. Even $1 is great. And if you can't donate, just spread the word. Make sure you share the link. The QR code in the upper right, you can scan that. It'll take you right to the donation page. But also make sure you check out OperationHorsesHeal.org just to see all the great programs that they are offering right now for our veterans.
Absolutely. It's an awesome program. Make sure you guys go check it out. You can check my Twitter page at Packers_access. You'll see it pinned at the top of the page. You can get the link right there. And like I said, if you ain't got nothing to donate, share it out, man. Just spread the word. It's an awesome organization for sure. And also, if you want to support what we do here at PTA, the best way to do so is to join our Patreon community, patreon.com/Packer Fan Total Access. $3, access to everything on the site. You would have had the game plan starting yesterday. I started to put that together, so I just kind of add the information in and edit it as we go. So you've got it in real time as it's being added in. You also get access to our draft board, all the chats. It's just this awesome little community that we're creating here for PTA. If you're a member of that group, anybody who's in the $3 tier or higher, we're going to be giving away an autographed Josh Jacobs card on the post-game show. We take everybody who's in that tier, put them on the pinky wheel, spin that sucker. Whoever it lands on gets this card. It's actually a jersey patch card of Josh Jacobs. So it's got a piece of his jersey in the card. Really, really cool. So we'll be giving that away to one lucky listener. If you're not familiar with Patreon, but you love YouTube, you can also join as a member on YouTube. That's another way to support the show. So appreciate everybody. This was a lot of fun. Jacob, Tim, appreciate you all's time. Man, we went a little longer than I wanted to, but it's always hard to stop talking up here when we're talking ball, man. It's a blast. So I appreciate you guys. All right. We'll see y'all tomorrow. We'll be going live. What time's the kickoff, guys? Exact kickoff time.
7:25 or 7:20 p.m. Central.
That's Central, right?
Okay. Yeah, Central.
All right. So 7 Central's kickoff, or 7:20 Central's kickoff. So let's go live for the pregame show at 6 p.m. Central time. Okay. So that'll give us. I don't know. We should probably go a little earlier, shouldn't we, Tim? Let's go. Let's go.
6 p.m. would be an hour 20 before kickoff, so we could go.
Let's go 5:40. All right, 5:42.5 p.m. Central. Yeah, I'm gonna write this down real quick because you guys know I'll be texting y'all going, hey, what time are we going live? What will we say? So 5:40 Central time. And the reason I want to go live
17:40 military time, 17:40. Let's go.
Oh, now you've lost me completely. So the reason we want to go live a few minutes earlier is because all the games are going to be winding down, right, from the day's action. So I want to do a quick recap, give everybody an update. Here's what's happened to the standings, right? Here's the games that the teams that won, the teams that lost, and how it affects the Packers and the standings. And then we'll take you right up real live. We'll give you footage from Acrisure Stadium and all the latest information, the actives, inactives, all that good stuff, and take you right up to kickoff. So it's going to be a blast, man. Everybody have a wonderful evening. We'll see you tomorrow at 5:40 p.m. Central for the PTA pregame show. As always, as Jacob. Oh, Tim's doing the weird wave too now. This is awesome.
What's weird about it?
Yeah, everything's. I'm not even going to say it. We're just going to leave. Bye, you guys. See, Jacob ruins everything.
There we go.
Nice.
Bye, guys.